So yesterday, my sister and I were talking, as we often do, and we were talking about autism because I am autistic, and so are her two children, and she also has ADHD. And we were talking about autism, and I brought up to her the fact that it's actually pretty young, and I estimated that it was probably maybe 100 or less than 100 years old. I was wrong, but it's still relatively a new thing. The word autism first appears in medical journals in 1911, and autism spectrum disorder as we know it today was like modernized in World War II. And ironically, in Nazi camps. Yeah, Hans Asperger was a Nazi. It was his job to differentiate between the autistics who were good, heavy quotes on good, and heavy quotes on bad. And so that's where Asperger's syndrome comes from, but I don't like that, even though that's technically the spectrum I fall under. Not only was he a Nazi, but he failed to include the other half of the population. He ignored mostly AFAB and especially cis, like AFAB people, and mostly cis women and cis girls. And his sexism started off decades of sexism to the point where people like me get diagnosed in our adulthood. I mean, and it just surprises me that there are so many lost generations of autistic people, so many people who are autistic that we have no idea. Like, there's just so, like, depression has a long and colorful history, but autism is like a baby. It's like, I know it's like over 100 years old, so it's like not a baby, but like in terms of like medical stuff, yeah, that's pretty infantile. Especially since they didn't even consider like AFAB people to qualify, especially cis women, and cis girls too. Like I specify cis because that's true. If you were a girl or a woman, say very special circumstances, and more so like maybe in the 80s or 90s or so, you weren't really considered for autism. You weren't really thought of as autistic because it was seen as a male disease, which is really, really stupid. Oh, and since it's pretty visible in this video, I just want to reiterate, I do not support Autism Speaks. This was a gift from my sister, the sister who I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And we use it she wears one too because she's ADHD, and she wears it for her kids too. We do not support Autism Speaks. We do not think that the puzzle piece means that a part of autistic people is missing forever, and the cure to that is ABA, bleh, a parfait. And this actually for us, and especially for me, represents the part of my life that had been missing. The part of my life, like the diagnosis of autism, is this piece. This was the piece that finally completed the puzzle that is me. And this was the only missing part was my diagnosis and my knowledge that I was autistic. And this represents me finally reclaiming it and being whole. So no, I don't support Autism Speaks. I think they're trash. I think ABA is trash, and keep it away from me. So please, before you even comment, no, I do not support those trashy people. I just wear this because autism, it does represent autism, and to me, it was the part that keeps me complete. It finally completes the painting that is me, and it finally explains so much about me. And it was just such a relief to realize that I am autistic, because it explains so many things that have been left unsaid and had been like at some points in my life been killing me. And like, I don't use that word lightly, especially when it comes to myself, but yeah, not having that diagnosis was killing me. And so when I use the piece, it's literally to represent the fact that I finally got it, and this is the part that's keeping me whole. And while I do credit Asperger for, acknowledging that autistic people are human too, I don't like using his name, and I never will, for my own diagnosis when I get it. I'm not diagnosed, but it's pretty obvious I'm autistic, so I just need that diagnosis. But yeah, it's not a, it's so young. It's such a young disorder. And I'm amazed by that. I didn't even, like, I'm just, we know so little about it. And so to think that, and I really just, that's why I really like the phrase, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. You have not met all autistic people. Because while we do share a lot of the same characteristics, which makes us autistic, gosh, we are not the same at all. We are not the same. We are very different, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually quite awesome. It makes us diverse, it makes us interesting, it makes us fun. Yeah. So I just wanted to just shed some light on that. Like, autism, pretty young, infantile when it comes to mental health, modern mental health, like in terms of medicine and things like that. And like, I just hope that we just keep educating ourselves more and become better people.